Hello, beautiful conscious creators. I'm Kim Falcon, intuitive channel, quantum healer, and hypnotherapist. And today I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about the twin flame connection. And so many have chosen this experience to serve as the catalyst that moves them onto a higher trajectory of their spiritual journey. Essentially the path of ascension. I feel like a lot of people went through this maybe 5 to 7 years ago, and I feel like there's going to be a resurgence of this happening again as more and more people awaken. And so I'm going to answer a lot of common questions today from my perspective that I hope will support you on your journey in some way. Maybe you've met your twin flame. Have you met your twin flame? If you have, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. But we're going to be talking so much about what the twin flame is, how do you meet your twin flame, when do you meet your twin flame, and most importantly, what the purpose of this connection is, because I feel like a lot of people have a very different idea of what this connection really is than what actually happens when this does happen. So, and the reason behind it, I mean, as humans, we like to romanticize. I've met my soulmate, I've met my twin flame, but there's a lot that goes into this connection that I don't feel many people are aware of until they move into the experience and they're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? What's happening here? And many people think about how great it would be to meet their twin flame, but I'd be curious to see what it is you feel like after you hear my perspective on it, if you really do want to meet your twin flame after all. So let's start off by talking about what is the twin flame. So what is this twin flame connection? It is the male and female energy of the same soul. In other words, two aspects of the same soul coming together in this lifetime when they meet. That is oftentimes why we hear others say, he or she is the other half of me. Now, it's this mindset that many oftentimes romanticize this connection and get stuck here, which can cause difficulty. All right, so it is like the whole Jerry Maguire thing when he says, you complete me. And let me tell you something, holding on to that thought or seeking it out in somebody else is going to be a really tough path. And we'll talk more about that as well. So while it is the male and female aspects of the same soul connecting here in this lifetime, what happens through this connection is that it activates the Kundalini energy in each person, which is described as two serpents that lay dormant, coiled up at the base of the spine. It's your soul's energy, the female and the male aspect of your soul's energy that lay dormant at the base of the spine. So one of the serpents is male, the other one is female, and through this activation, the serpents come alive, so to speak, and unite together and move up the spine through all of the energy centers within you. And it's just by being in that other person's presence or engaging with that other person, being in each other's life, that this activation takes place. You activate that in them and they activate that in you. So it's really about this process, the Kundalini rising and being activated, and the male and female energies within you uniting and becoming whole inside through this unification, thereby igniting the highest trajectory and journey of your ascension as a result of this taking place. So it's like you becoming more whole inside by these aspects within you, the male and female energy within you, uniting and unifying. So much to our dismay, it's not really about the other person or the twin, as it is the human would like to think or has fantasized about or romanticized about. It never is about becoming whole through someone else. It's always about becoming whole within ourselves. But it is through this other person that this process ignites within us. So it's a lot different than what most people are thinking. But before we move into the significance behind your twin, because this is where it gets really interesting, it would really support me if you like and share my video and hit the subscribe button so you can see more videos like this. All right, so let's talk about the significance behind your twin. The significance is really about them holding the energy codes within them that are specific to activating your soul's energy within you and vice versa. So each of you hold the specific key codes or light codes within you to do that for one another. And it's through this activation that will put you on a higher path of ascension and therefore, or get you on the path of ascension. This could be like the trigger point for your ascension. That's why spiritual awakening and ascension are very different experiences in my experience. This kind of connection will be a major catalyst that's going to put you on specifically on the path of ascension. Even if you've been awakened, so to speak, you're hearing your guidance and all the other stuff. The veils are thinner when you go through spiritual awakening. This is a much different path, ascension, and it's really going to take you inward. And that can be a difficult thing, even though there's a lot of beauty behind it. But that is the purpose of the twin, to take you inward. And this is what makes this connection an incredibly powerful one. I mean, if there's somebody that comes into your life and all of a sudden you're on a path of living a higher life, you can see how important that connection is for you and is for everybody else who is going through that process too. And at the same time, way different than what most everyone thinks it is or thinks about when they think about the twin flame. All right, and it is a connection, I'd say, that is beyond words and beyond what the human can even conceive until we experience it. Because this is going to make you see yourself and form a connection with yourself like never before. And that's what I'll say. So like never before. So anytime it is we've never experienced something, it's like we don't know what we don't know until we know, until we move through it and have that happen to us and really go through the depths of what this connection offers us. So now let's talk about, well, what is the purpose of this connection? Because this is a very important aspect to twin flames. So this is very much a life-changing connection in the biggest yet highest of ways. Now, the human side of us is seeking our life partner, that we can, kind of ride into the sunset with, have a white picket fence, and live happily ever after. That's what so many of us think about in our lives, or think about, when we think about the twin flame or the soul connection, that this is what we desire for ourselves. But the twin flame connection is not about that. It is not like you can't have that in this connection, but it's not the top priority of this connection. The first priority here is that it's very much soul driven. In other words, assisting each other in living your highest, or living our highest purpose in this life, which essentially will be about being in service in some way, because that is a key priority for the soul, is being in service. Because the human side thinks about itself, the soul thinks about everybody, thinks about the whole. And we need a powerful activation and experience to move us into living from our soul and thinking beyond ourselves and about the whole, and how we can be in service to the greater good. And that really is what this connection does for us. So our higher purpose is, again, always going to be about being in service to others. And it's never just about living for ourselves. So service to the whole, humanity, Gaia, humanity's ascension. And ultimately, it's about raising the vibrational frequency here on Earth to elevate consciousness. But in order to do that, the individual needs to raise their own vibrational frequencies within themselves first. And this connection drives you inward, because so much of our life up until that point has been focused on the outside world and everybody else around us, that this connection is going to drive us back inside, so that we can form that connection with our soul on the deepest of levels, and clear up all of the programming within us that stopped us from doing that. And so that's why you hear of things like the dark night of the soul, which your twin flame will put you into the dark night of the soul for most people. Okay, so that's a very difficult part of the journey. A beautiful one, a difficult one, a necessary one. So as you'll notice, I really haven't spoken at all about being in a relationship with your twin up until now. And not, again, that this can't happen, but this connection is really about being in relationship with yourself first, which really blows every romantic thought or fantasy that we've had about meeting our twin. And so to the human, being in relationship with ourselves first, that doesn't sound like fun, because we've always thought about being with that special someone that's really just going to make our life everything it is we've dreamt about and wanted for ourselves. But this is going to show us that we have everything in here to do that for ourselves first, so that we can have a relationship with somebody else and create that together from a conscious place instead of from a place of need. Now, what makes this whole thing kind of funny, although not really when you're in it, is that it's a relationship that your soul loves. It's not a relationship that your human loves, because although once you move through the challenges of the connection, it is one that you will have great love and appreciation for. So as I mentioned earlier, the time when we go through the quote unquote dark night of the soul, which is when we're doing all of the clearing of the programming and stuff that was held inside of us, that is not a fun process. Okay, I have been there and it is not fun. You can have parts of that experience that, where you'll find joy. I mean, it's not all misery, but it's a very difficult part for the human side of us. But as you're moving through it, you're learning to do that from a more conscious place. And so you will have experiences of joy too. But anytime we're clearing programming, let's be honest, not something that we all want to rush to sign up for. Okay, so all right. So anyways, so since this connection is about the relationship with yourself first, like I said, that means it's going to take you inward, and we're going to be clearing old programming, which are beliefs any trauma we've had, wounding, everything that has prevented us from living from the truth of who we are. The layers are then peeled back as we talk about the layers of the onion peeling back. That's exactly what happens so that we get to a purer place within ourselves. And that is the place it is we start living from. So the whole thing is a purification process. Now, with the Kundalini energy or your soul's energy running through you, moving through the chakras, it's purifying your being, and with that, your life. So this process will show you everywhere in your life that needs purification. And purification means change. So again, you can see where this would be very difficult for our human aspect because we typically don't embrace change. It's not something that we think of as fun. We like comfortable. We like what it is we've known. We like to be in control. We like to know what's happening next. And this is going to take all of that, move all of that out of the way. This process will teach you how to embrace change with greater ease. Now that is a really great life skill to have, right? Because we know that life is always about change, even though we don't embrace it or wish for it. And so if we know that, how much greater and easier will our life be to learn how to move through transition, shifts, changes, transformation with greater ease and from a more conscious place. So there are beautiful, tremendous benefits that come with this experience as it does, and when you move through, it's just like anything that's difficult, it's like running a marathon. When you're done with the marathon, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did it. You're in pain doing it as it's happening. But when you look back, you're so glad you did it. You wouldn't have it any other way. All of the practices you did, all of the challenges you endured, but how great you feel after the hard work. Well, this is kind of like that too. Okay, so anytime we're clearing within ourselves, we are raising our vibration. We are contributing to the whole of humanity because that's the energy it is we're bringing into the world. So if you'll remember earlier, I talked about this connection is about raising the vibrational frequency on the earth, but in order to do that, we have to do that within ourselves first. So that's how it happens. That's what we do. So you might ask, well, who does this connection happen to? And I'll say happen for, because it's really happening for you. We'll talk about that. It's really divinely orchestrated by the higher self for the souls who have come into this lifetime to be on the path of ascension. They've come into this life with that intention, that being a part of their soul's mission. It's part of what they came here to do on this earthly plane in this now moment on their journey. And they chose to activate this part of their journey through their twin flame connection. Now, there are many different ways we can move into the ascension process or into higher trajectories in our life. Being activated by our twin is one of them. Okay, so it's one of them. And for those who meet their twin in this lifetime, it's because that's how you wanted to experience your journey on a soul level. You wanted to do it through the experience of meeting that other person, coming into each other's lives and activating each other that way. And that's who it happens for. Now, some can have, a near-death experience that activates them, or the loss of a loved one, or some other kind of major event that'll trigger it. It'll be a major event because this life change is major. So you need a major experience that shakes things up within you, that's going to get you to stop in your tracks so that you can take a different and higher path. Otherwise, it is you'd continue down the same path doing what it is you've always done. And that's not what the purpose of this connection is all about. So let's talk about, well, okay, how does this happen then? How does it happen? How do people meet their twin flames? Well, when it comes time for us to begin the ascension process, and this is how your soul chose to be activated, your twin will come into your life. Your twin will come into your life, just like any other relationship or experience, relational experience that you've had with other people. When it's that time on your journey for you to meet each other, that person comes in, and then the experience begins, whatever it is you're supposed to be getting from each other in that connection. So likewise, the same thing happens with your twin, and you could be introduced through a friend. He or she could show up as your client one day, and there you are, or any other way you meet somebody. But when it happens, there will be a stronger connection than you've ever felt before. In other words, when you meet this person, you will feel like you already know this person. You'll feel like, boy, there's something different about this person. Maybe I don't know what yet, but I have a feeling here that, this is something different, something deeper, something significant that's enough to catch your attention. So, and the reason being is because it is a deep recognition on a soul level that this person and those feelings are different than any other. Now, you can have that with other connections as well. And again, I get a little concerned about labeling relationships and connections, because boy, our human side can really take it and run with that. And then it's like you're off on this whole other this mindset that can be difficult pattern to break, because you're caught up in the title of this connection. And it's not about the title. It is about the experience and the purpose behind it. So, I've had experiences, for example, let's say with my husband, when I met my husband and we were going out on our first date. That day, I was in the corporate world back then. I knew, this feels a little different. I was already tapped into my intuition and stuff, but boy, my intuition was talking to me. I was like, something's different with this person. I don't know what it is, but I knew that he was going to play an important part in my life before I'd even met him. As I was getting ready for the date, I knew. So, in the same way, that's what the twin relationship does too. Now, you might just talk to that person on the phone first, let's say, and the sound of their voice will trigger an inner knowingness that there's something different here. So it is because your soul recognizes, each soul recognizes each other, and then it like communicates with the human side of us going, note to self, there's going to be a big change here, or something really big's happening with this connection, which makes this a very beautiful, how beautiful is it that to recognize somebody on a soul level that you've never met in this lifetime. Now, you might ask then, well, when does it happen? And as I mentioned earlier, it'll happen in divine timing, when the time is right for you to expand through your ascension, or expand in consciousness. And this means it can happen at any time in your life. Your soul is not about making things convenient for you. In fact, this connection is going to come in at a time that's highly inconvenient. because change never comes at a convenient time. And that's what this connection inspires. So you'll be carrying on with your life as usual, and all of a sudden your twin enters, and basically from that point forward, your life changes forever. Now again, it changes in the highest of ways. So what this also means is that it can happen too when you're already in a relationship with someone. It could be a boyfriend or girlfriend that you have. You can even be married. It can happen when you're married, which can really cause confusion and challenges for many. It can make people question, am I supposed to leave my marriage, or my relationship? Is this the person I'm supposed to be with in this lifetime? Because, you'll have very deep feelings of love, unconditional love that you've never felt before. So if this is you, and this has happened to you, you're in a relationship and now you're considering something like that, hold on before you make any decisions, because you're going to want to tune into my next video where I talk about what happens when we meet our twin flame and tips to navigate the connection as well, to help guide you down your path before you make any major choices around anything. It'll be important to hear, a new perspective or another perspective on this before you do that. We're going to talk about like what changes occur in people's lives, how it changes your life, what feelings this connection ignites within you, and some of the challenges that come with it, but also a lot of the most profound things too that come with it as well. So be sure to tune into my next video. In today's video, we kind of laid the foundation by covering, the key points of what the relationship is, the purpose behind it, how it happens, when the connection happens, to whom it happens for. And in my next video, we're going to talk about what happens when it happens. All right, so I hope this video supported you, and I'm really excited about doing the next one because we'll get into a little bit more depth about the relationship itself. All right, I'll see you then. Thank you for being with me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.